welcome back to the box score. So today we've got a very, very special guest. I know this is the West Tennessee box score, and we keep drifting over into Middle Tennessee, but this is one of my good friends, former teammate at Bethel, Nick Wallace, current AD at Stewart County High School in Middle Tennessee, state champion golf coach, and again, we go back. One of my best friends in the world, but also just a guy who we're gonna talk some Bethel basketball. Some, I'm working on a piece on 1992 from West Tennessee. We're gonna talk Middle Tennessee around 1996, and then just kind of the upcoming prospects for Stewart County this year. So Nick, welcome to the.
I'm happy to be here, buddy. I love to come over to West Tennessee. I spent some time over here, you know that. And I realize how much I miss it every time it comes back. It's so much. Everything seems to move slower over here.
It's a good place. Nick and me. I always said we kind of had we mirrored each other growing up. To me, if there's somebody growing up in Scotts Hill, hunting and fishing, and I'm not a big hunter or fisherman, but you grew up with it in Scotts Hill. Stewart County the same. We both had dads who were basketball coaches at one point in time, growing up coaches' sons. We end up at Bethel together, just a very similar background and upbringing. So we've always had a lot in common. And our time,
both great defensive players.
Yes, that too. We can both guard. And look, this is if you've watched these podcasts, if anybody's watched the other three or any of them, I slip into every one of them about what a great shooter I am. I get that out there because I wasn't a very good player at all, but I like to work that in. And sitting here is one of only two people in the world that have ever made me question if I was the best shooter in the room. Like right now, I'm having to wonder, am I actually the best shooter sitting here?
Well,
or not?
right now you probably are, because I don't touch them like as many times as you used to. So as you do, and I don't even be in the gym very much anymore. My gym days have kind of gotten small, But yeah, I think one day I could have shot with you.
Yeah,
and I know Brian Haskins. I know he always.
Yeah, he keeps making it in here.
I'd have to come out of retirement to try it on with old Brian again. So,
well, before we get into Bethel or anything like that, because I've actually today been working on next week. I'm releasing an article on the class of '92 in West Tennessee, which was that was the Tony Delk era.
Yeah.
Unbelievable group of talent came through West. Had 5 kids signed in the SEC. But when I got to Bethel, and me and Nick got to be friends, one of the things in his dorm room that he showed me one time was his all-district picture from when he played in high school at Stewart County. Yeah. And in that picture, it was very similar to '92. I'm gonna let you tell who all was in that.
Well, actually, we weren't in the same district. That was our local newspaper in Clarksville. They used to have this, they call it. Now I think they still do it, but they do multiple teams now, but they used to have what was called the Leaf Chronicle All-Area team. And anybody that was in the Clarksville general area, they would just take top 5 and they put them on that team. And it was if you start, I don't know which way you want to go with it, but you had Sean Marion, who was on that team. Trenton Hassel, who was on that team, Marcus Maven, and then Brad Luce. No, it was the kid from Northeast. Went to Lipscomb. I have to remember his name. I don't think Brad made that year. Coach Dave Luce's son. Yeah. It was. I think it was the kid from. I'll have to go back and remember his name. I mean, hopefully I could remember it for you. Black. Last name was Black.
CJ Black?
No. Actually, it was Black. I think it was Blackston. His name was Andy Blackston. He went and played at Lipscomb, and then me. And there was a tad bit of a size difference in the photograph. And of course, Marcus played. He was in the last class of Crum, and he's the only freshman that he ever started.
At Louisville.
At Louisville. He was the only freshman he ever started.
Let me ask you this, because I know, again, for you guys, everybody knows Sean Marion.
Yeah.
Everybody does. If you don't, you probably won't be watching this. If you're watching this video, you know who Sean Marion is.
Yeah.
Most people remember Trenton Hassel because he had a really good NBA career as a defensive player. You were there for it. I wasn't. I've always heard that Maven was the best in high school.
Mark Saban was the best high school player, and there's really no doubt about that. I mean, they played, they were in the same district, so they had the meeting 2 times during the season. Back then, Leaf Chronicle would also host a Christmas tournament, invite all the local teams. So they played in the finals of that tournament. They played in the finals of district tournament. They played in the finals of the region. They played multiple times. You know how that happens sometimes. And I'm pretty positive. I know they won 2, but I think they won 3 of those 5. And I'm saying Northwest.
Right.
Northwest won 3 of those 5. Mark Saban was one of the most explosive basketball players I've ever seen. Sean was like I said, everybody knows Sean, his athleticism. But
the Matrix.
Yeah,
that helps you out. If you
and Trenton was a same thing, just an incredible athlete. But Markins was fast. He was quicker than both of them. Like I said, he could get off the floor faster. He had better shooting ability. Like I said, you just don't go to Louisville and start as a freshman.
Right.
Back in those days.
Yeah.
In those days, you just don't show up at a place like that and start as a freshman. And he had a tragic accident. A lot of people know his son. His son just recently. It's kind of weird because I'm a Lions fan, Detroit.
Right.
He spent a lot of years with the Detroit Lions. He played. He was a middle linebacker for University of Tennessee.
I did not know that.
Jalen Reeves-Maven was his name, and that was Marcus's son. And he had several. I would say he had an 8 or 10 year NFL career.
Well, that's I just think, man, the talent that came through here, and then I look at Middle Tennessee, and I was like, man, 4 years later they had a
Well, like I said, you just go south of that. You're going to go into Waverly, and you're getting Austin Bates. You're getting Kevin Rollins. That's a Vanderbilt Lipscomb guy. Kevin was in. David Lipscomb. My brain's going. My dad would kill me.
Don Meyer?
Don Meyer.
Yeah.
He was Don Meyer's last recruiting class.
Okay.
And then Ivory Marable was there. He went to Cumberland. And then, going to Nashville, in 95, 96, you've got, the team that put us out in the region, you got Drew Maddox, who also goes to Vandy.
Right.
You got Ron Mercer, Goodpasture High School.
Yeah.
He goes on to have his NBA career.
Sam Howard was young on those teams.
In that region. We were in that region too. Sam Howard was...
He was young, but he was there.
But then you had Oliver Simmons, who was at Lipscomb, went to Kentucky.
Right. I forgot he was at David Lipscomb High School.
Yeah, he went to David Lipscomb High School. And and then, like I said, if you just cross over the state line out of Tennessee into Kentucky, in Hoptown at University Heights, you had Isaiah Victor, who went to Tennessee, class of 96, and Greg Buckner, who went to Clemson, class of 95, I think.
Lot of good basketball across Tennessee in those early 90s, early mid 90s. Bethel College, BC. Me and you both played for Mike Nienaber.
Yep.
And I always tell the David Lipscomb story. I've already told that on here, so I'm not going to retell it. I joke though when I said Wallace probably did something, so I got to check in the game. This is Wallace. This is the guy who was our starting 2 guard at the time. But they should let me go back and do Bethel's Hall of Fame. But one of the games, I am going to talk about a game because it won't be long. I really feel like I'm fixing to have Dexter Williams on here in a little bit for a Union guy. But I'd finished playing at Jackson State my 2 years there. I didn't know what I was going to do. Was trying to figure out where to go to school. Didn't have a lot of options because, again, I wasn't a very good player. I could shoot a little, but my options were limited. And Coach Greer talked to Nienaber. I talked to Nienaber. Bethel was the leading candidate. And I was like, I'm going to go watch him play Union. And Bethel had a guy, and you can back me up on this, Bobby Kelly. When Bobby was playing, Bobby's as good a basketball player.
Bobby's one of the best point guards I've got to play with.
Yeah.
He made me look good on some nights.
Bobby Kelly, I'm going to tag you in this. Bobby Kelly could play. So I was thinking, Bethel's got a chance. Well, I get there, Bobby's not playing. That happened a lot too, Bobby. I won't throw you under the bus, but sometimes Bobby didn't get to play. So Bobby's out. They had a kid named Chad Hancock. He was out. And I'm pretty sure Mike Katermos was out.
If it would have been for injury.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have been long.
But I think he was out that night.
Oh, okay.
Just that game, that was one of the games he was out. So I'm looking at
I
Bethel.
wonder if he chose that night for a reason.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at
He
Bethel.
was pretty good.
And I'm like, man, they're fixing to get killed, and the only guys that, I didn't know you at the time, but I was like, the only guys that can play is, they're sitting on the bench, they're not even dressing out. Treon Ridges was at Union, and I remember Scott Bates, who's one of our good friends, and look, I'm gonna make a plug here. Go back, if you go to our website, go read the Veterans Day post. He's got a foundation off the X Foundation. It's worth looking into. I'll just leave it at that, plug that. But anyway, he's guarding Treon Ridges. And I'm like, this poor kid's fixing to get cooked. The next thing I know, he's picking his pocket at half court shooting a layup. Did that twice. Doug Katermos had a big game that night.
And the baseline fadeaway.
The baseline fadeaway. And then you had a big game that night. And y'all upset Union. And, that was sitting in the crowd. That was when I said, I'm going to Bethel. Yeah. That was watching that game. But
well, we played well that night. I don't remember it all. I remember the fadeaways, and I remember screaming at Doug trying to get the kickouts, but
that one happened.
Didn't come very much. But obviously the memory of the night was Scott, because that kid was all world. That kid was all world, and he didn't know Scott before that game, but he knew him after.
The game was over.
He knew exactly who he was.
Well, that was one of my Bethel memories before I got to Bethel, and then of course being there, Mike Nienaber, Coachy may tag Coachy in this one. Probably as much fun as I ever had playing ball was for Coach Nienaber.
Me too, no doubt. Great man, great, wonderful. He taught a lot of us a lot of things that we in time period where we needed a lot of teaching. And he was understanding, and in the same breath, he didn't have any problem telling us what we needed to do.
No, he's in my opinion, of course, got the Christian Brothers. They upset Memphis State that time, but that was a big night for me, just cheering for Coach Nienaber. But I think Coach Nienaber was one of the great basketball minds that kind of gets overlooked sometimes.
All you got to do is look at his numbers.
Yeah.
Just look at the man's numbers. They tell you all you need to know. He changed styles. There's a lot of guys that don't do that. And he went with the game of basketball. You're talking about a guy who spreads out over 30, 40 years, and he played multiple different styles of basketball and reinvented himself multiple times.
And you go back in time, and those Lipscomb teams are loaded. Belmont, Rick Bird, Don Meyer, they get a lot of love, but every year Nienaber beat them. At some point, he would slip up and beat one of them.
He always had that. It just like when I got there, there was just. He loved the Pete Angeloses and those guys. There was going to be somebody on that team you did not want to play.
Right.
And they were going to be physical with you and banging on you and wearing on you.
Matt English. R.I.P. That's
that's just his style, and it translated for a long time.
He's down at Mississippi Delta now, but those times at Bethel.
Got another Puckett, I hear.
Yeah, got another Puckett. Got a Puckett there. If y'all are watching. After Nienaber, we were still around. You got on the coaching staff.
Yeah.
And Cal Luther came in, and that was another one where I look back at the coaches I got to play for. It was pretty amazing because Cal Luther, X and O wise, is one of the smarter.
Well, you don't think about those things till you get older, but especially when you get into coaching. When you get into coaching, and then you get to. All those huddles we sat in, and all those practices we sat in, and many of the things that I drew up some plays over the years, and people ask me, "Where'd you get that?" And I'm like, "That's 100% stolen, baby.
It's not mine.
It ain't mine." I got that from somebody a whole lot smarter than me. So, but we were spoiled to it. Really.
Right.
We were really spoiled to it. We didn't realize what we had, but thankful now.
Speaking of that, the guys, of course, that was a great experience. Nienaber, Luther, back-to-back years getting to play for those guys. But, me and you both here, you're still coaching golf, but out of basketball. I'm out of basketball. I know 2 or 3 other guys who I consider to be really good coaches out of basketball. I know we hadn't talked about this. These things are completely impromptu. But, man, there's a lot of great coaches getting away from it. And I always thought you were one of the great ones, and now you're still coaching, still involved, but it's why do you think so many guys are walking away.
Well, I mean,
You think that
I
it
don't
is-
think there's anything that we could speak for all. I think that what we all dream of when we started and what we all want is probably all the same, and it's not winning.
Yeah,
Like we want to win. I mean, nobody.
everybody wants to win.
But I mean, we all know there's only one at the end of the year.
Yeah.
No matter how you draw it up, there's still only one at the end of the year. And when what we want is what we had as players. We want those locker rooms. We want those men. We want that growth. We want those feelings of the grind. We want those feelings of the joy when you went on the backside of those grinds. Like you want all that stuff to be a part of it. And there's a lot of society now there's a lot of parts of that, I think, that they look down on.
Right.
They frown on a lot of the things that we just think are part of the journey.
Yeah.
That's just part of the build for it all. And yes, they're sitting on the bench is part of that.
Right.
Losing 6 or 8 in a row,
It's part of it.
or even having a really bad year. Where you've got a young team. But I mean, hey, that young team's going to be seniors, and it makes it so much greater.
Right.
But we lose. I was losing a lot of kids. Was losing a lot of kids, and I was losing a lot of parents. Because they just don't want the full commitment.
Right. And for me, part of that as a coach was having a full commitment at home.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching.
Oh, yeah.
Coaching, in some ways, as I see some of the guys that have stepped away, it is a young man's game sometimes.
100%.
Because if you're doing it right,
It is.
it's a full time endeavor.
I had this conversation with it's another sport at my school with some of my younger coaches, and I was telling them, hey, you need to reach out and you need to embrace some of these guys that are out in the community that are coaching these travel and these clubs and they're going out, and I said, don't get too big ego on them and think that you've got to be involved, because if you're not careful, you're going to be coaching every Saturday, every Sunday, 3 times a week on your off season, and you're going to be 6 or 8 years in. You're going to be burned out again. Your family's going to be without you, and that's one of the things I had to step away for too. There at the end, my son was about to graduate high school. I had my daughter coming, and I realized I had missed a lot of it. So,
Well, Middle Tennessee, Stewart County, they're going to be part of our coverage.
All right.
Yeah, we've got you in, and
I'm stuck on that line.
You're right there on that, right there.
Nobody
Henry
wants
County.
to claim us sometimes.
Your region though, you're in one of our districts.
Yeah,
And
that region there, that area, they like to use the Tennessee River, but with so many classifications now, you generally can't.
Right.
Some of those people got to jump west, or someone's got to jump back central. So I mean,
so is it Camden, Huntington? Is that correct?
well, actually, that's the one we just left.
Okay.
We were just in this, but with this new cycle, we've actually went back to Cheatham.
Okay.
But that's the region. Our district is Cheatham.
But your
Just
region
the 3 Cheatham
is
schools, so it's Cheatham, Harpeth, Sycamore, and then the region is back this way. So you get you get Waverly, Camden, Huntington, Milan.
Milan. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was going to say when I was looking at that earlier, because it's kind of easy to include y'all in our area.
Well, they really just pulled us out and stuck, because that was our district. They pulled us out and stuck Milan in there,
Okay.
because those other 3 were our district last year.
Right. So y'all have a lot of ties in West Tennessee.
We played just as many games.
Right.
McKenzie. We played Henry County is almost always we're home and home.
Right.
Every year it's one of our big games every year. So we've always came west just as much as we come across. Like I said, it's now don't let me get into refereeing across this river. But.
Well, I'm hoping to have a ref on here soon. I've got a guy that referee, he's retired now, but he's going to help us sort some things out. That's the goal. But the Stewart County, now just recently, of course, our last podcast, I talked about our golf tournament that we do every year, and of course, Kirk plays in that. But then I also have Jared Smith, who won a state championship in golf at Jackson Christian 2 years ago.
Yep, same year we did.
And his 2 boys just signed at Union yesterday, and then I've got Nick here that plays in it, and he was state championship coach at Stewart County the same year, right?
Same year.
Same year. So
Mhm.
talk about the championship there, because I wear it to school about once every 2 weeks. It's in the rotation. I have a Stewart County golf state championship T-shirt that I wear. It's in the rotation. It's in the loop.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's we all want to win them. Been involved with sports since I can remember, and that's the first one I can ever say I finished on a win. You don't get to do that very much, but great bunch of kids. I mean, just like any other
Right.
state championship team. Very little to do with me, 100%, because I had 5 kids that left school every single day from the time they were about 7th grade. Drove to Paris-Sina State Park to the golf course, hit balls, practice, putted. They had swing coaches. They had all these different things they were working. That was their goal.
Yeah.
I was along for the ride on that. So I mean, that a lot of them. I started the middle school program. It's been probably 16 years ago when I started the middle school program. And we just kind of grew since then. We started grabbing some kids at a younger age, and then we started grabbing more, and it's just and it's just like any sport. They get to watching the ones above them, and
Right.
and then they get. And what the cool thing about with golf is you can take a 12-year-old, and he can play with a 15-year-old. They can go out there and play together, and
Right.
they can develop a relationship. And a lot of time with basketball, it takes just within a certain classes you can get that. But with golf, it doesn't really work that way. I got a 8th grader right now that he plays with some of my older kids. I mean, that helps. But and to be honest with you, Paris-Sina Golf Course.
Right. It's beautiful.
Well, I mean, Keith Hickman down there, and they've been so good to us. They let
Right.
the kids come down there. But I mean, the state tournament itself, the one thing about it, Stewart County's never won a state championship, any sport. Ever.
Right.
Never happened.
So
That's the first
that's
one.
a big deal.
That's the first one that's ever happened. And there was probably 200 people down there, all the way in Sevierville, and we started making some putts because we were down on the back nine, and started making some putts, and the fans started you could hear it over here on this hole, getting in, cheering on, cheering in, and then with about 4 or 5 holes, we started making everything, and it got loud, and it's really, truthfully, it's probably the most exciting, not the win. That
Right.
last hour was maybe one of the most exciting athletic events I've ever been a part of.
Golf, it's a little different. It's
Yeah.
a different sport. But one of my favorite Bethel memories, since we're talking golf and Bethel, is Ryder Cup.
Oh yeah.
So I'm at Bethel. We're up in West Hall. So if you're familiar with Bethel, I'm in West Hall. Justin Leonard sinks that putt. I'm upstairs at West Hall, and there's about 5 of us hanging out the window into the parking lot when people are coming by just chanting USA. That was one of my that Leonard putt was an iconic moment. But I just remember hanging out the window at Bethel chanting USA.
They couldn't get mad at us for stomping on the green like they did.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that was an awesome moment with golf.
yeah. Well, I would be remiss too. I had a girl that year win the individual,
Okay.
and that went into. She actually played Maddie
Gray.
Maddie Gray.
Maddie Gray signed the
Maddie-
union.
Yeah, she was tied with her at the end of round 2, and they went and played number 1, and it's par 5, and she made a birdie on the last hole, hit I'd say about a 15-footer, made it, and all that because we had already won the state with the boys, so everybody from Stewart County got to consolidate on that green and watch that putt go in.
Oh, that's
I mean-
what an experience for that kid.
Yeah,
That's a memory she'll have.
I got
forever.
some great pictures to show you of that where somebody took some great pictures where it shows her running out and hugging her dad. Just wanting some great stuff.
Great, good stuff. All right, moving back before we get off here to basketball. Stewart County basketball. Since that's kind of where we're at in our
Yeah.
stuff. We were talking earlier about the girls team a little bit and the boys too. Give me a little bit of what can we expect from.
Well,
What's the expectations there this year? Kind
Well,
of
I think
maybe
the
something like that?
expectations are nothing positive for both. The girls' team comes off a really good year. They made the sub-state last year, got beat at Loretta, were leading late in that game. Had a few things, hostile environment, had a few things go against you, part of the game, and they got a point guard. Her name is Jayla Newman, and she's returning. and she can play. She can really play. She is one of the best girls we've had there in a long time, going back to some girls that played at Belmont and things like that. She can really put it on the floor, both directions. She's about impossible to trap. Eyes everywhere. Great scorer. She's going to be, I think, she's going to have over 500. I think it was like 500 steals, 500 assists, like 500 rebounds, of like 1,500 points. I mean, she's one of those.
Right.
Just an incredible player. And so I mean, I think they have a now moving over there. I don't know if you're aware, but Cheatham County basketball. I mean, that's Pat Head Summit
Yeah.
Town.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're going to be pretty good.
So when you step into Cheatham County, there's always a representation of girls basketball there.
Yeah.
And now they've got 3 schools doing it. So Cheatham County, Harpeth, Sycamore. Cheatham County's always going to be a good school.
Right.
Good. But I still think they've got a chance to win that, and region I think should be the same. So, because they didn't really lose, they lost a few pieces, but they didn't. They got some good youth. They got some good. It's a good athletic team.
Right.
For girls middle school basketball, for girls high school basketball, very athletic team. And then the boys, extremely young.
Right.
Had 1 senior last year, and he has 1 senior this year. So they had a really rough year last year because, you're playing babies.
Right.
In
It's
AA.
hard to play freshman and sophomore boys in AA. It's rare you have kids who are ready for that. That's a
So he's got the 1 senior now, and he's got just a couple juniors. He's got a big class of sophomores, big class of freshmen, really good group, another good group of 8th graders. He's got a good core really coming. And this group that he's got now, even this year, they took a lot of lumps last year, and you know how it's been because you've coached teams like that. You're not going to sneak. They're not afraid anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're not afraid anymore. The fear's gone. Now it's just the challenge of getting to the point where you can push over to that win to winning.
right.
They're all experienced. They're all
They've got
experienced
playing time
players.
under their belt now.
They're all experienced, and a lot of them have grown. So, and like I said, there's a couple kids in there, those young ones who got some. There may be some college talent in there.
That's some high school boys and middle school girls. From year to year, they can be completely different humans.
Oh, yeah.
They can come back a completely different animal than what they were the year before. There's a lot of growth in those time periods and change. All right, before we get off here, let's go back to Bethel. Just because we much like when Tim Allen was on here.
Get this over here.
Yeah, but Bethel College, a lot of signatures from Bethel on here. Much like when Tim was on here, there's a lot of stories we're not going to tell from Bethel. Those are for a different thing. But just basketball wise, I've got a story in my head. Give me a game story, something from Bethel. I'm putting you on the spot. You gotta
be a game.
It don't have to be a game. Anything there. Could be Mike McCutcheon shooting the ball off the backboard and he never making a shoot. I don't know.
Well, if you're going with basketball, probably my freshman year, I think maybe my sophomore year. I can't remember, but we were playing a home game and we're down 1. It's in overtime. It's down 1. Coach Niemann draws up this wonderful play for me to take a game winner, and I was coming off a double screen between Mike and Doug, and of course Mike was the second screener. And Mike decided right before I got there to ditch the play.
Imagine that.
And pop out and shoot about a 27-foot fadeaway off his back foot for the win. It did go in, but it hit absolutely nothing but the bottom.
That's funny because look, I really that wasn't what I had in my mind, but you telling that. One of my memories of Bethel was the night Mike Katermos went bananas. We're playing Spalding University. We're down. It's like 45 seconds to go. And in 45 seconds in overtime, I think he scored 27 points and hit nine threes.
Yeah, they tried to press us, and he just stood back there in that corner and just wore him out.
And the one he sent to overtime, we're watching the film, he's not in camera shot anywhere. He shoots
That
it
may
from
have
off the-
actually been the one. It may have been for that tie or the win. I don't know, but I just know there was a play there that wasn't supposed to go to him.
Well,
The
he-
only other one I remember that I could probably tell was the night I stole that ball to center line against Berea.
Yeah,
After-
that was one of my
They
time.
beat us 60. Scott would tell us.
Yes.
60 something points like
Yeah.
2.5 weeks before that.
Yeah.
And they come down, and I think it was right at the buzzer, and the guy tried to cross me over to center line, and I tapped it across him, and got an Anwood right at the buzzer, which of course I think I just extended the lead. I don't think we was already winning. But
The beautiful part of that was we get in the locker room, and Coach Nienaber, I'll tell the G-rated version of this, but Nienaber's bragging on us because we got beat 60. I actually think it was 59. I think that's the
no,
story.
I think it was 60.
That
It
is
was 62, I think, actually.
Well, no, it was 61.
Oh, okay.
Or no,
It was
it
60
was one of those
something.
numbers. It was 60 something, but whatever it was, Nienaber's bragging on us.
Yeah.
And he's like, they beat you 60. It was 61 is what they beat us because Nienaber said 62. I think that's how the story goes. I was in there, and Nienaber's bragging. He goes, "Man, they beat you 62 points." And Scott Bates stops and goes, "Coach, no. It was 61." He goes, "Nobody beats us 62." It was a great line, but that was a I don't even know if it was 2 weeks. That was about a week.
I think it was about 2.5 weeks later, but I went back and looked at that game years later, and they hit 27 threes that night.
when they blew us out.
When they blew us out,
Yeah.
because they were running the system.
Yeah.
That was back in the prime of the system.
Yeah.
And they hit 27 threes, and one kid I think hit 9 or 10.
They had that Law kid, I think was his last name,
Yeah.
something Law. He could play, but that was one of our better, definitely probably the best win Bethel had when I was there. Of
Yeah.
course, we were KIAC champions that year with 6 wins, but we were the KIAC regular season. All wins came in that conference. So, of course,
But I mean, we're still playing on the people in the Trans
oh,
South that
gosh,
are way
yes.
better.
And speaking of the Trans South, I've got a couple of things coming up for the website. Obviously, the Class 92, you're going to do a piece on a guy named Sammy Fisher we were talking about earlier. But my next piece after that I'm writing is actually, I'm calling it the Holy Wars. And it's on the old Trans South.
Wow.
When it was, I'm going to do my dad played at Freed, and he tells the story. He played for a guy named Dick Stewart, and Bethel had beat him one night.
Yeah.
And his Dick Stewart was the coach, kind of charismatic kind of guy. He told him that night. He goes, "I'm the only Baptist I know can take a bunch of Camelots and get to beat out of us by a bunch of Presbyterians." But when I was a kid, man, we would go to Bader Gymnasium. My dad had played there.
Yeah.
It's Cracker Box.
Yeah.
It's packed in there. But I mean, when they played Lambeth or Bethel,
Yeah.
we always called it the Holy Wars. And man, those were some small college basketball at its.
Oh, I
at its
remember
peak.
at a
It was-
young age seeing my first game between Belmont and Lipscomb.
Yeah.
And
they were part of that.
Battle of the Boulevard, and I'm telling you that was those environments. I mean, I actually was talking. Do you know Mike Ellison, Final Forms? I mean, he used to be at CP.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, we actually discussed this not too long ago. We were talking, and he said something about that. And we were talking about those old environments.
Oh, it was great.
They're just gone. I can't seem to find a gym anymore where I can go in and see people standing up against a wall.
Yeah, on the floor
All
with
the
you.
way around.
It was, I tell people I played in the last game ever at Denmark West. That was because they brought everybody back,
Yeah.
and that place was rocking anyway because it was a small gym, and those small gyms just fill up. But that night, everybody they were told they had to move people so you could inbound the ball. It was crazy, great environment. But those days you don't see that anymore.
Everybody's overbuilt their gyms now, and they're too big.
Yeah.
And for high school single A, double A basketball, man, those little gyms you can't.
I have tried to get Scotts Hill to play a high school game in the old barn.
Yeah.
And I just can't get it worked out. But I was like, man, these kids need to know what that environment's
It's wonderful.
like. It was but man, I have enjoyed talking hoops with you, and good luck to Stewart County this year. And again, I'm looking forward to covering them. Y'all are probably as far. I mean, you're right there by Henry County, but I don't know that I go any further than Stewart County in any of our coverage. So this will be fun.
Yeah, I don't know how far you go south, but I mean, if you go straight south, I mean, Wayne County.
Wayne County,
I mean,
County. We're gonna cover Wayne
like
County.
if you went straight south in the state, you're going to get to down to Wayne County and stuff like that. I
So
mean,
y'all are right there. Y'all are there.
like I said, we've always been that.
West Tennessee.
But nobody really knows
where to put you. Well, we're glad to have you on the box score, son. But
Glad to
man,
be here,
enjoyed
buddy.
it.
Good to
Thanks
see
for
you,
coming
buddy.
down, and man, it's good to see you.